Isn't even recording. Damn. Yeah, I don't know what that is. Let's see. Oh, that's.
Had his emotions displayed on his face. And he looked very sad. And the king asked him, by the way, you couldn't look sad in the presence of the king. And the king says, you look sad. What's wrong? He told him, things back home are bad, very bad. But here's the thing I want to tell you. He said, the king asked Nehemiah, what do you want to do about it? That's the moment of true candidates. What do you want to do about it? Nehemiah didn't have time to write a speech, but Nehemiah acknowledged God. And he sent up a quick prayer. We call it a Nehemiah prayer. And he asked the king, can I have a few weeks off to go home to see about my people back home? The candidates and the supporters, I will say to you, especially to the candidates, you're going to be challenged. Everybody's not going to be your friend. Be careful what you say before you say it. Give them a Nehemiah prayer. What you tell me? I got 100 minutes. Got 1 minute. In all of your ways, acknowledge God. There are those who are going to try to deliberately provoke you. Don't be so quick to speak. Don't be retaliatory at all. Take your time. Acknowledge God as Nehemiah did. And God bless you. Dear God, we thank you for this time. We thank you for these who have given themselves to serve our community. We thank you for the support. We thank you for the session. In Jesus' name. My time is up. Amen.
We will start. Timekeeper, you ready?
Yes.
All right, we're going to go ahead and start with Mr. Dale Duchamp with his 2-minute opening.
Hello there. Thank you. Marlon Jones, thank you very much for inviting all of us to this great event. And Bishop, where's our Bishop? Thank the Bishop so much for the wonderful invitation and invocation, too, to bring us all together. And I love the reference to Nehemiah and know the story and appreciate it so much. And it's a story that's well taken by all of us. My opening statement is this. A question that should be asked of any candidate that seeks election to city council or any other seat is, why are you doing this?
Yeah.
Why are you doing this? What are you interested in? And why do you serve? Why do you desire to serve? I answer that question, first of all, by just saying it's simply in my nature, in what I've done all of my life. I've lived a life of service, and I've devoted myself to the city of Newport Richey and to trying to make the city a better place. When Marilyn and I moved here 40 years ago, over 40 years ago, we decided that this would be our home. And so often in the city of Newport Richey, it seems that people come and go so quickly. They come in for a while and then they leave. We don't have that deep root commitment that is needed to really build a community, to build a better world, to build a better place. When we first moved here, that was the commitment that I made. I teach at the University of South Florida. I happen to teach in the Department of Religious Studies, which may be of some interest to the bishop, and he and I can chat about some of that as well.
Yes, sir.
And I'm reminded, too, that how important it is to be involved in any sort of activity that brings you close to home, close to your community. Religions are all about that. They've always been about that. We can have a touch of that, maybe a touch more of that in our immediate communities. I'm seeking election to the city council for that very reason. At times in our city, especially recently, there have been tensions, there have been challenges, there has been upset, and there have even been angry words. That's not me. When I was on the campaign trail, a person said, well, I don't know, is that the end of it? Okay.
Go ahead and wrap it up, Joe.
I'm wrapping up, and here's my wrap up. They said, we need someone that's a little more aggressive, a little more angry up there to make our points. And I said, well, if that's the case, it's not me.
That's right.
You're going to get from me a calm, caring, committed person. That's why I'm running. That's what I'll do. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Tom O'Neill.
Thank you very much. I'm Tom O'Neill, and the first thing I'd like to do is thank Bertel and Dell for their appearance and their wish to be on the City Council. And they're here, I know, because they care about where they live, and so do I. So basically, I have been a long-term city employee. I retired in 2010 as Newport Richey City Manager. I then went to the city of Port Richey and was their city manager for 4 1/3 years. So I know the business. I like helping people. I want to help people, and I want to apply what I've learned at the city council level. The council is responsible for policy decisions which should guide the city administration. They also are responsible for preparing and passing ordinances. They sit as a legislative body. Additionally, they approve expenditures that are over the city manager authorization limit, and they approve bid awards and so forth. I think you have the greatest opportunity as a city councilman to influence what the city does and how it does it. People who know me know that when I served, I cared about people. I went to their house personally. In other formats, I've seen many people that I went to their house. I wanted to see what their problem was. I wanted to feel their pain, and I wanted to be able to fix it. And in most instances, I felt I had the experience to get something done. Experience is always, it's not always knowing exactly what to do, but sometimes it's knowing what not to do.
Yes, sir.
And I want to do that. So I'll close with that and pass the mic along.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tom O'Neill. All right, Mr. Bertel Butler.
All right. Can you hear me okay back there? Thank you. Perfect. It's funny, this IHOP right here is where I grade my papers from school on Sundays. And where I sit, I often see that right-hand turn lane get busy in the afternoon when church is getting out. And I'll tell you, there's a whole lot of cars that are leaving Bishop. And so to me, that shows the community that we have here at this church and the communities we have in churches across Newport Richey. And so thank you for hosting this forum, Bishop, and thank you, Marlo, as well. When we're talking about community, I want to take a moment to thank both of you for being here, and that I've had the chance to collaborate with you both. I mean, Tom, I knocked on doors for you when you first decided to run. And Del, we worked closely together on some projects to help promote FarmNet, and I had the opportunity to serve you water with no lemon over at Rose and Bistro. And that's what this is about, is coming together. My name is Bertel Butler IV. I'm not related to the Butler family, but it's funny, me, my father, my grandfather, and my great-grandfather were all born on the same day. Oh yeah, that's a good fact I like to share. So I teach over at Gulf Middle School, and before that, I worked for the city. And so I got a chance to see some of the pain points we have in our communities, some dilapidated areas that need addressed, and some of our undeserved communities that could use a champion on our council who will ask the right questions and talk about accountability and transparency. And so that's why I'm running. Among the reasons before I decided to run, I spoke with my grandmother about this, and she shared the reason she moved here over 30 years ago. And that's because of our natural environment, Sims Park, and our close-knit community, knowing your neighbor. And It's very important for us to keep those things close, and as we're looking into the past, also considering our future and how we can continue to improve. I'm assuming we have a...
Thank you very much. I'd also like to introduce our candidate, Louis Cartwright. Thank you, Louis, for being here. So, Louis, what we're doing right now is 2-minute opening, so you're on deck, buddy.
Well, thank you everyone for having me. I'm sorry I'm late. Good luck to all the other candidates. I grew up right here in Newport Richey, Florida. I was born in Riverside Hospital. It's down north, I guess north side or Morton Plant over on Madison. So I went to University of Florida, J. Levin High School, so I've been kind of homegrown, you can say. I definitely have a lot of passion for the city, and I think, one of the things I've been doing the last year, I've been serving as the secretary of the Library Advisory Board, which is one of the city council appointed committees, and just incredible experience with that. I really think that that's an incredible resource that gives access to everyone in the city to utilize programs and participate, whether you're from any part of the town. You're all welcome. So I really want to hopefully bridge the gap between people that don't know those resources exist. And my name's Louis. As I mentioned, if you have any questions for me, I'm definitely here and open. And I just wanted to say thank you again for the warm introduction. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you coming, Louis. All right, without further ado, I would like to introduce our moderator for tonight. Our moderator for tonight is the wonderful Miss Val Starworth. You might see her all over Pasco County. She's very busy, but she's a wonderful friend, and she does a lot for the African American Club of Pasco County, and she works very hard at some of the events you see going on with the Juneteenth and the Black History Festival. She is a part of our team, and she's wonderful. So without further ado, thank you, Val, for coming, and I'm going to turn it over to you.
You all hear me all right? Yes. A little bit? Okay.
Yeah, bring it on the side.
I think better? I just remember this. Just raise a hand if you can't hear me and I'm moving something, start dancing or something. Thank you, Bishop, for hosting this. Thank you, Marla and the Florida team for providing this opportunity for the community. Welcome everybody that took time out of your busy schedule. You could be anywhere else, you could be doing anything else. So let's get going.
All right.
Isn't this a fine slate of candidates? Right. We'll start out with something pretty simple, and we really want to hear from you. Some of you have alluded to why you're actually in this race and what it is that you'd like to see. So number one question is, why do you want to be elected to the City Council of Newport Richey? Why? Let's start with, I think we had Dell go first in the introduction. So Dell, and I'll have to get the names. We have Dell, we have Lewis, we have Thomas, and we have Bertel. So Dale, if we can start with you, why do you want to be elected to the City Council of Newport Richey?
Sure, thanks a lot. I want to be elected to the Council of Newport Richey because I believe that I can make a difference. The City of Newport Richey is in a transitional period right now. Those of us that have lived here for many years see significant changes occurring. There's changes going on in the demographics of the city. There's an enormous amount of gentrification that's going on. That means housing prices are going up significantly. It means folks that used to live here and have lived here for many, many years are not able to afford to live here any longer. I would like to change that, and I believe that I can. I believe that progressive and more forward-looking policies that relate to the gentrification can be enacted. I also believe that we need to prioritize saving the homes that are here and the residents that are here. In the last few years, there has been this enormous amount of growth. I believe, though, that growth has occurred at the expense of the original community of Newport Richey, as well as the even more original community of Newport Richey, which is the natural environment. We have forgotten the natural world around us. On the environmental committee where I chair, we have offered proposals to the City Council over a number of years, advocating for more responsible environmental action, which simply has not occurred. That's one of the reasons that I'm seeking election, is to bring a voice to the Newport Richey City Council, which will more powerfully and more effectively advocate for the environment. The environment also includes folks in the community that are less well off, especially parts of the community that have been underserved. That would include areas to the west as well as areas to the south. Tanglewood Terrace comes to mind, as well as some other areas. These places have been systematically ignored by the city council. If I'm on council, that will certainly not happen. And one of the initial initiatives that I'll take, which I think that everyone on this board is going to agree with, will be to enact an affirmative and positive reforestation project in those parts of the city right now that are suffering from urban blight. There's one thing that will always make a difference in terms of the improvement of an area, both in terms of the value as well as the sensibility of the folks that live there, and that's reforestation. Thank you.
Great. And Thomas, we'll ask you the same question. We will move around questions, but I think this is a good one to get it out there so that you all know what basis they're standing on, and then we can bounce around from there. So Thomas, if you would please let us know why you would like to be elected to the city council in Newport Richey.
Yes, I would like to be elected to the city council, to use my background as a city employee and administrator, as city manager, to the best interests of the people. I sincerely believe in reforestation. I also do consulting arborist work now on the side, and additionally, I strongly support neighborhood improvements, including an expanded tree program, planting program, sidewalk improvements to improve the quality of life. And I'd like to see a master plan. I'm also on the environmental committee with Mr. DeChan, and I'm very interested and feel strongly about protecting our environment. I would like to see a stormwater treatment plan that treats untreated water that now goes directly into the river. I would like to see a thorough review, additionally, and this goes off that subject a little bit, of our red light camera program, and a thorough review of our budget with the goal of lowering our millage rate, lowering the taxes, and I know this might not bring or be a familiar subject with most people, but I also strongly support the acquisition of the Sweatman Center, the old Gulf High School. So I think being a city council member, I can advance those objectives. I have a tendency to be specific, and I'm goal-oriented and solution-oriented, and I have a track record of getting things done, and I would like to see that happen. So with that, I'll close.
That's good. Bertel, you next, please let us know what it is why it is that you'd like to be elected to the city of Newport Richey, for the city council.
Thank you. So I grew up attending Richey Elementary School, Gulf Middle, and Gulf High. In fact, I lived right where US 19 Bridge is in Port Richey, and I used to travel to Gulf High School through the Grand Boulevard Bridge, and I would cross over the Main Street Bridge all the time to play at our local wooden playground. And that being said, when I graduated from Gulf High School, a lot of my friends, they moved. They moved to Gainesville, they moved to Tampa, out of state. They did not stay here in this community. And while we have a rich history and a vibrant culture here, it is not reaching some of our younger generations. It just simply isn't. There's a deafness, and I think it was touched on by Tom and Dal, and that the experience is great, but we also have to realize that people up on our council have a lot of experience in this community too, and it's greater than just that system. You know, we need someone who can redefine what it means to be a local elected official as someone who's going to be a constituent servant. They're going to speak with our neighbors, and they're going to reach out to our community. There are so many doors I have knocked on where they say that this is the first council candidate that I've spoken to, and they've been in this community for 20 plus years, and their children and their children's children have all attended our schools. And so if we're going to reach people and to communicate them all the good that Newport Richey is, and all the great projects we can be proud to work on, then we need to be out in that community, and that's what I'll do on our council. One of the things I also wanted to briefly mention is that in our streets and in our neighborhoods, there are plenty of neglected streets that perfectly symbolize the neglect that our council has sometimes in their role. I think of Madison Street and how skinny of a road that is, and yet our kids travel it every day. I'll say one last thing, and that it's my principal at my school has no clue that we are closing the Grand Boulevard Bridge here soon to redo it, and no one from our city has reached out on behalf. And so we need to increase our communication and connectivity.
All right, Louis, same question. Why do you want to be elected to the city council of Newport?
All right, well, thank you for your question again. There's several reasons. I'd like to first leverage some of the existing programs that we have and make investments. I mean, I think we talked about gentrification and talk about the growth that we've had in the city. As I mentioned, I serve on the library advisory board as a secretary, and we've increased, just so like our population's increased, we need to make investments hopefully in those kind of programs that allow people, to access programs, especially with the rising costs of things. An example of one of the programs that we're doing, we're partnering with PCPT, the Pasco County Public Transit, so people that have library cards can ride the bus for either discounted or free, which makes a difference in lots of lives for people with kids, people, who are starting families, people who want to utilize resources. We also have resources that you can use on your smartphones and on your computers, so you don't have to actually even go into the library in person. You can use books at your house, and you can do those kind of things. So we're trying to make sure, at least with the library board, with what we work, and the things that I've seen that make differences are making those programs accessible, letting people even know that they're there, because Newport Richie has a lot to offer. And I think also, I think representation does matter, and I think, being one of the, candidates that I graduated from Mitchell High School in 2005, I know you graduated, you said went to Gulf. I left, to go to college when I came back because this is my home and this is a place I love, and I think I would like to see it grow, for the better. I also think, the city council does have a lot, I want it to be a council that works for everyone. There are things that, definitely have been overlooked in the city, and as your councilman, I think the final thing for me, as a commitment to transparency, this year we've had a lot of transparency changes in the laws, and a lot of changing in the guard, and I welcome those changes. I mean, I plan to make my voting records, available and hopefully online, and also for people to know that I work for you, and my votes are so that I'm not going to be ashamed of it. I'm going to be very happy to share them and commit myself to that transparency. Thank you.
All right, a lot of us see some of the challenges and changes out there. A lot of us see the blight, a lot of us see the problems. A lot of us see people struggling that we drive by every day. So let me ask this next question, and we'll start with Mr. DeShant. Dale, where do you see people struggling in our community? And if elected, what will you do to help them?
Great. Great advantage going first, but it also is not always an advantage, because what I'd like to say at this point, kind of following up on the wonderful response in the last round, was that everything that Tom, Bertel, and Louis advocated for, everything that you feel is important to do, I support. You just say that right out the block. I support those too. And my hunch is that everything that I'm going to be advocating for, this group at least up here tonight is going to support as well. So I just want to get that out on the table. Now, as far as where people are challenged in this community, people are challenged in this community all over. We have a significant portion of the population right now that is unhoused, that don't have a place to lay their head, and are sleeping outside. So we have that challenge right now. We have a significant challenge in getting food to those people. We also have a significant challenge in letting them feel at peace with where they are at. That's an enormous challenge. We also have a challenge with folks that are in housing right now that is dilapidated, and yet they are unable to repair those houses. The folks that are in the parts of town that are more prosperous are able to take care of the challenges that they have, and also can even apply for funding and receive it. Folks that are in underserved communities, however, do not have those same advantages for a number of reasons. It takes the activity and the commitment of a city government to reach out to those folks in the underserved communities, both the folks that are unhoused as well as the folks who are housed in dilapidated housing, in order to make a difference. That's something that the council can do, and something that the council should do. It also helps If the council sets a tone, a positive, constructive, and caring tone to reach out to all members of the community, there's a tendency sometimes on the part of this council, but also governments around this country, a challenge to disregard and disrespect those who are less fortunate. That will not be the case if I'm there. I will bring a caring, calm, and compassionate approach to everything that I do. Thank you.
And then we're gonna bop over to you, Louis. Where do you see people struggling in our community? And if you were elected, what would you do to help them?
Well, of course, I mentioned the library advisory board, which is my baby and something that I care about deeply. I see a lot of, people from all walks of life that take advantage of programs. A lot of people don't even know some of these programs exist. I think that, making accessibility, investing specifically in public transit and also in our library system, those are two things I think that could make a huge difference. And also, of course, restoration and infrastructure are important. But, making it so that people know that they can, I didn't know until I even joined the library board that we had a program where you could utilize your library card to access different programs online. Also, the free public transit, things like that that help level the playing field for people that, aren't even, that don't even know. That way you can utilize libraries to, get your taxes done, to file for jobs, to do all kinds of different things. That's something that I think, in the city council, especially with the gentrification issues that we have and the cost of living going up, people realizing that there are still programs in the city that need to be, if it's just communicated. If I'm your city councilman, you're going to know about this program because I'm going to be somebody that makes sure that there's that transparency. There's other programs, of course, just like our parks, our recreation, things like that. There's incredible things that they do that we need to just make sure that those things are communicated to the community so people are able to from all ages. I remember as a kid playing in Sims Park. I was born across the street from there, so I think hopefully seeing that tradition can be perpetuated so that younger generations and current families and people that will have the same time approach where you're saying they're graduating and they want to stay and they want to invest and they want to make sure that their kids can enjoy it. Making sure that those programs are communicated, that they're properly invested in, that they're properly communicated to be available for people. Thank you.
Mr. O'Neill, let's give you a shot at that. Where do you see people struggling in this community? And if you are elected, what would you do to help them?
Well, I recently have done a lot of walking and talking to folks west of US 19. I see a lot of people struggling, and I'm, as a homeowner for 50 consecutive years in the city, I can feel that. For example, my homeowner insurance has doubled in the last 3 years. I know that a lot of people don't have homeowner insurance at all in the areas that I recently walked. So first and foremost, let's help them clean their property up. Let's help them by getting participation in the spring cleanup days. I suggested that to the city manager yesterday. Also, I want to see us redo our grant program to where we have paint up, fix up grants, which were very responsible for people improving their homes, subject to the administration by the city. That would be funded by CRA dollars. And I would like to see that to help people help themselves. And, to restore some of the properties that at one point looked good and no longer do. And people need help. I'd like to give it to them. And I'll close.
Rochelle, your chance with this one. Where do you see people struggling in the community? And if you are elected, what will you do to help them?
So I'll start with right across the street from me, my neighbor. I reached out to her back in December around Christmas time, and I was trying to make a joke because I saw a for sale sign pop up in her yard. And I was saying that's a funny Christmas decoration, and I didn't realize I was stroking chord because she burst into tears and shared with me that she had no plans on leaving or selling. She's been here for 15 years, but because of the cost of flood insurance, she just couldn't stay. She was priced out. And I think that echoes a lot of people in our community who may just need, a cleanup of their yard or a redo of their windows. or a benefit from the CRA program to be able to get into a strategic advantage, to be able to take advantage of grants both here in the city and in the county that can uplift them and help them be able to stay here. It'll offset one cost so they're able to afford their mortgage, or so they can increase the property value of the community there, which will help them with their home insurance. And so that's right there across the street from me. But I spoke with a Gulf High School alumni, quite a few years before me, and he spoke about the triangle of opportunity downtown. How we have our downtown, we have our rec center, and what could be our old Gulf High School. 1922 building, the Schweppman building off of Grand if you're passing over the bridge. This zone here is prime for opportunity to be redeveloped as a cultural center. And what it will do is it would be a 3-piece public investment in that area. We're redoing the bridge, we're doing walkability on Grand, and if we would turn that into a culture center, that would be so much public investment along that community that it would be no question for someone to come in and want to grow the old community hospital district just south of that. And so those are two communities there. West Pasco too with the flooding. I've been knocking on doors over there, and they've communicated the same things where they don't even know it's flooding. Some realtors will tell them that it does not flood over there, and so the city needs to do a better job communicating some of the needs in our community.
And we've got a question regarding where you get your advice and information and guidance from, but I tell you we'll come back to that in a second because Mr. O'Neill mentioned the CRA and what it is. I don't think a lot of people are familiar with. Mr. O'Neill, I wanted to ask you if you could share a little bit more information on the role that Newport Richey City Council plays with CRA. Just let the audience here know what that is.
The Newport Richey CRA is composed of the 5 city council members. It began in 1988 with a zoned area that essentially was the city's downtown. It was expanded after that to encompass the entire area of the city. It recovers what formerly went to the county in terms of taxes, which is called the tax increment. Off the base year, the CRA captures 95% of the revenue that typically would have gone to the county. At my last check, the CRA receives about $4.5 million a year, and it's supposed to use that money for redevelopment projects as outlined in the city's redevelopment plan.
It's the Community Reinvestment Act. So those are funds that come down federally from the top and kind of wiggle their way, as you mentioned, down into our counties and into our cities. Did he get that for y'all? Good? All right. Thank you, sir. You had just mentioned that, so we kind of wanted to let them know. I saw a couple eyebrows raised as we were talking. Sometimes we use acronyms, it's like alphabet soup, but if folks don't know what they're hearing, then they can't really know if those answers are going to match. And we're going to refer back to CRA later in the questions, so just thought we'd get that out there. Bertel, we'll let you go next. Do you have any information on CRA? The question actually is, what is the role and responsibility of the Newport Richey City Council and the CRA?
So I just want to add to that. You mentioned the legislation. The actual board that Tom was referencing that the city council sits on is the Community Redevelopment Agency. So it's essentially a city council again. It holds its own meetings. It's open to the public, and that's the key here. Because realize we can talk all day about what our city council members should be doing on this board, but the reality is that I worked for the city. I was a community engagement coordinator, and when I sat in on these meetings, the room was empty. This is $5 million of funds that, think about it, these are the funds that we receive because we have responsible homeowners here that choose to invest back into their properties and increase the property value. That's where these funds come from. When he mentioned tax increment financing, this is, you can only touch the funds that the homeowners reinvested into their property to increase it. It's not a tax increase. It's not necessarily a tax. It's an additional sum from that money. And so these dollars are still important because these should be wholeheartedly, 100% reinvested in our communities to do things for our streets and our roads, to make sure that an 8-year-old and an 80-year-old can walk on it. To make sure that when we look at programs like the LIFT program, that our police department, or that our police chief has done a great job championing, that we address some blind spots in that program to provide services right here in-house, not send them off to the county. It is also a great investment to jumpstart some growth, for example, with the Old Community Hospital District. To be able to give the necessary push to say, hey, private speculators, come on in, see what our community is about, make the investment we need to uplift our neighborhoods. Streets and roads should be one of the primary focuses of the CRA, and I think in the years to come, we can take what we've done downtown, which is largely funded by our CRA, and we can expand it out and connect it to our neighborhoods. So when we talk about bridging the gap, that's what it's about. We've done it for our downtown, and now's the time to take that CRA and put it to work in our neighborhoods.
All right, we'll bounce over to Lewis, and the last name is Kortenreich or Kurtwright. Okay, I'll make sure I get that correctly. Who is it that you take your advice or guidance from? Do you have a mentor that is there working with you? How do you figure out what it is you're going to do on this campaign trail?
Well, as I mentioned, I serve on the library advisory board. I have a great group of people that I work with there, and we bounce a lot of ideas and have a lot of common vision for a thriving community and a strong community. So that's a great starting point for me. And the last year, I've learned a lot, especially serving in the leadership as a secretary. I try to have a pretty diverse worldview of, and just a lot of news from different sources, and just try to, understand, what's going on in both the local, the state, and the federal level. And finally, I'm a big mama's boy. I have a mom that has a lot of good opinions, and I'm very close to my family. So I'm not ashamed at all to say that I'm close to my parents. We definitely don't see eye to eye on every single thing, but I do think it's important to invest in family and people that they were always very politically and into public policy. So mostly the people that work with the library board have done a great job of helping me learn the process of the funding. I've attended city council meetings. I've attended CRA. There's $770,000 that was passed last June. We want to make sure that those dollars are being spent. Of course, with fiscal prudence, and I think we are making capital investments. They just had a welcome sign that was added, which I think is a great thing, is a step in the right direction, because I want Newport to be a welcoming place for everyone. And the tourism here is also something that's very important. Our streets and the signage and things like that, those are things that should be in the best conditions possible, so when people come here, they know that they're a Newportian, and it's something that's memorable for them to come spend their money here, bring their friends here, want to be proud, and even say like my family did, raise a family here. So hopefully, that would be great, and hopefully that answers your question.
Thank you. Mr. DeChant, how about you? Is there anyone specific that you take advice or guidance from, or any mentors?
Yes, there is. And I'll answer that in just one second. I wanted just to say just a word about
More about your library programs and what you plan to do with it, how would that increase? Because, I'm a homeschooling mom. The library is like my favorite resource. So that was exciting to hear.
I've been on there about a year, and like I mentioned, my main thing that we're doing, we're expanding for access to the PCPT, which I really think is a good program for people to be able to get. Yeah. So you get a free. You basically take your library card and you use that to utilize the transportation. Yeah.
Is it to and from specifically?
I think you're able to just, because we're still making a program, I think you're able to take most of it. But
I agree 100% everything you're saying.
Oh, great.
I agree.
I was trying to say that we should have all the buses. We should have at least the stop by at least because there's a bench right by the library. Well, I guess people don't even know that program exists. I would say that other programs we're doing, we're expanding story hour with kids and getting more work. We're trying to get more. We're trying to do more bilingual classes. So I mean, for me, those the best part is it's all free. So for me, especially as some of the young kids, it's like the library's where it's at.
Right. You have a card.
I have an email address.
Okay, can you read it out to that because I'm recording?
Sure.
and
So
I
my
can-
name's Louis Curtright. It's Louis Curtright for NPR. LEWISCURTWRIGHT@gmail.com.
I won't put all that in there. But I
Sorry, it's so long.
That's okay.
But yeah.
I'll follow up on there, so I will have additional questions.
Yeah, I can send you some of our meeting minutes and stuff, where you can see some of the stuff we've gone over. And I hope
My name is Candace. I'm with Pasco Connect Magazine.
Well, hello, Candace.
Nice
Oh, great.
to meet you.
You got a photo
Yeah,
of
we're
me?
gonna take a photo.
Yeah, a photo of us? I'm honored.
1, 2, ready, go. Perfect. Now he was really excited about some of the things you was talking about.
Well,
Can we
that's
ask
me.
you a few questions?
I've been doing, yeah.
Okay.
This is my, that's the card. This is our project, by the way.
Okay.
It's called Newport Richie Farm. Look, Newport Richie FarmNet.
Okay.
And I'm the name on the bottom there. But yeah,
You want to ask him something?
what could we do to make the community better?
well, in Newport Richie, I believe the best thing that we can do right now is to dig into these kinds of projects. Right?
I 100% agree.
We want to, if I get elected, now that's always the pitch, but if I get elected, we need to open up public spaces for community gardens. Right now, all the community gardens, we have several in the city, and they're good, but they're all filled. We have no more space for people to garden. But if we open up city properties, some of the parkland, some of the vacant lots, and add a city initiative behind it, that would be a tremendous advantage. Two, I'm the chair of the environmental committee. You live in the city? You should get on the environmental committee. We have space.
Well, we have your card now. Can we follow up with you on a few
Yes.
things in a day or so?
Of course you can.
Okay.
You can